Her name was Dorothy, 73 years old, retired kindergarten teacher from Augusta, Georgia. Sharp, warm, the kind of woman who remembered every neighbor's birthday and still baked her own bread on Sunday mornings. Every single day for the past 11 years, Dorothy started her morning the same way. 6 o'clock. Kitchen light on. A bowl of oatmeal with a sliced banana on top. A glass of orange juice. Sometimes a piece of whole wheat toast with a thin layer of peanut butter. Her daughter called it the perfect breakfast. Her doctor, at every annual physical for a decade, looked at her diet log and said the same 4 words. Keep doing what you're doing. 14 months ago, Dorothy had a mild heart attack. Not during a stressful moment, not after a heavy meal, not in the middle of the night. At 6:15 in the morning, standing in her kitchen, 30 minutes after finishing the breakfast she had been told, for 11 years, was exactly right. When I reviewed Dorothy's case, the labs, the diet history, the timeline, what I found was not rare. What I found has a name. And what I found is sitting in the kitchens of millions of seniors across this country right now, wrapped in packaging that says heart healthy on the front. Today, we are going to talk about it honestly. My name is Dr. Stephen Parker. I am a physician specializing in cardiovascular health and aging, specifically in how the circulatory system and metabolic function change after 60, and what those changes mean for decisions we make every single day, including the very first decision most of us make every morning: what we put on our plate at breakfast. In my work with adults over 65, the pattern I keep seeing is this: people who have been eating carefully for years, people who read the labels, people who chose the low-fat option, the whole grain option, the fruit instead of the pastry. People doing everything the conventional health messaging told them to do, and their cardiovascular markers are still moving in the wrong direction. That pattern has a mechanism. It has specific foods behind it. And once you understand what is actually happening inside the body after 65, when you eat certain foods that carry a healthy reputation, you will never look at your breakfast table the same way again. Stay with me through everything today, because what I cover last, the breakfast item almost no senior is questioning, carries the most significant cardiovascular risk of everything on this list. And it is almost certainly in your refrigerator right now. Before we get into the specific foods, I need you to understand one concept, because without it, nothing else I say today will fully land. I call it the metabolic shift. Here's how it works. When you are 45 or 50, your body processes carbohydrates, sugars, and certain fats with a level of efficiency that changes significantly over the following 15 years. 3 things happen between 60 and 70 that most people were never told about. First, insulin sensitivity decreases. Your cells become less responsive to insulin, the hormone responsible for moving sugar out of your bloodstream and into your tissues for energy. This means that foods which caused a moderate blood sugar rise at 50 now cause a significantly sharper spike at 68. The food did not change. Your body's response to it did. Second, inflammation runs hotter. The aging immune system operates in a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation that researchers now call inflammaging. Certain foods that were metabolically neutral at 50 actively pour fuel on that inflammatory fire after 65. And chronic inflammation is not a background inconvenience. It is one of the primary drivers of arterial plaque, heart disease, and cardiovascular events. Third, the liver's processing speed slows. Fructose, a specific type of sugar found in fruit juice and many so-called natural sweeteners, is processed almost entirely by the liver. In a younger, faster metabolism, the liver handles moderate fructose loads efficiently. After 65, excess fructose is converted to triglycerides, fat particles that circulate in the blood and directly contribute to arterial damage, at a rate that is meaningfully higher than it was 20 years earlier. Keep the metabolic shift in mind as we go through every item on today's list, because in each case, the problem is not the food itself in isolation. The problem is what that food does inside a body that is crossed 65. And that is a conversation the breakfast cereal aisle was never designed to have with you. Let me be exact here because this one is easy to misread and I want to be precise. I am not telling you that oats are harmful. I am not saying that oatmeal has no place in a senior's diet. Plain, steel-cut, minimally processed oats carry genuine fiber benefits and have real supporting research. What I am talking about is what oatmeal becomes by the time it reaches most breakfast tables. Instant oatmeal. Flavored oatmeal packets. The kind that says maple and brown sugar or peach and cream on the front and heart healthy on the side. Here is what is actually inside that packet. The oats in instant oatmeal have been pre-cooked, rolled ultra-thin, and processed to the point where the body breaks them down almost as rapidly as it breaks down white bread. The fiber structure that makes plain oats genuinely beneficial, that structure is largely destroyed in processing. What remains gets absorbed into the bloodstream quickly, causing a sharp blood sugar spike within 30 to 45 minutes of eating. Now add the flavoring. A single packet of a major brand's brown sugar-flavored instant oatmeal contains between 12 and 15 grams of added sugar. That is before you add the banana on top, before the glass of orange juice beside it. For a 70-year-old with decreased insulin sensitivity, remember the metabolic shift? That breakfast is delivering a blood sugar load that their pancreas and cells are genuinely struggling to manage efficiently. The result is a spike, then a rapid drop, then an inflammatory response in the arterial walls that happens quietly, invisibly, and repeatedly, morning after morning, year after year. What to do instead? Steel-cut oats, not instant, not flavored. Steel-cut oats cooked in water, with a small handful of walnuts and half a cup of fresh berries on top. That combination delivers the fiber benefit of real oats, the anti-inflammatory compounds in berries, and the healthy fat in walnuts that actually slows the blood sugar absorption curve. The difference in your bloodstream after that breakfast versus the flavored packet version is not subtle. It is significant. And it starts showing up in your labs within weeks of making the switch. Food number 4, orange juice, and all fruit juices. This is the one that surprises people most in the appointment room because orange juice has been marketed as a health staple for so long that questioning it feels almost un-American. But I want you to hear this clearly. A standard 8-ounce glass of orange juice, not the sugar-added kind, the pure, not from concentrate, no added sugar variety, contains approximately 26 grams of sugar. 26 grams in one glass. Before you have taken a single bite of food. For context, that is more sugar than a glazed donut. Now here is the critical difference between drinking that sugar and eating the whole orange it came from. When you eat a whole orange, the fiber in the fruit's cellular structure slows the absorption of fructose significantly. That fiber acts as a buffer. Your blood sugar rises gradually. Your liver gets time to process. When you drink the juice, the fiber is gone, completely removed in the juicing process. What you have left is liquid fructose, and it moves through your digestive system and into your liver with almost nothing to slow it down. In an adult over 65, whose liver is processing fructose more slowly and converting more of it to triglycerides, a daily glass of orange juice with breakfast is not a vitamin C delivery system. It is a triglyceride delivery system. And elevated triglycerides are a direct and independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease in older adults, separate from LDL cholesterol, separate from blood pressure, and frequently missed because many standard lipid panels do not flag them prominently enough. I want to tell you about Franklin. Franklin is 71 years old, a retired high school principal from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Fit, active, no family history of heart disease. He came to me after his cardiologist flagged his triglycerides at 280, nearly double the upper threshold of normal. Franklin was confused. He ate carefully. He exercised. He had a glass of orange juice every morning because he had been doing it his whole life and nobody had ever told him to stop. We removed the orange juice, replaced it with water and one whole orange. 12 weeks later, his triglycerides had dropped to 190. No medication, no other dietary changes, one substitution. Franklin's words when he saw those numbers. A glass of juice did all of that? Yes, over time, quietly, every single morning. What to do instead? Eat the whole fruit. Always the whole fruit. And if you want something to drink alongside breakfast, water with a slice of lemon gives you hydration and a small vitamin C contribution without a single gram of fructose hitting your liver all at once. Food number 3. Whole wheat bread and multigrain toast. This is the one I promised you earlier, the one that surprises people most, because whole wheat bread sounds like the responsible choice. It is what every nutrition recommendation for the past 40 years has pointed you toward. It is what the packaging celebrates. It is what most doctors' printed diet handouts still list as a heart-healthy option. And for adults under 55 in good metabolic health, the story is more nuanced. But after 65, with the metabolic shift fully underway, here is what the research actually shows. Whole wheat bread, the commercial kind found in every grocery store in America, has a glycemic index of approximately 71. White bread sits at 75. The difference between them in terms of blood sugar impact is 4 points, nearly identical. Here is why. Commercial whole wheat bread is made from whole wheat flour. Flour. The grain has already been ground into fine particles. The cellular structure that gives whole intact grains their fiber benefit, the structure that slows digestion, is broken down in the milling process. What you are eating is a finely ground powder that your body breaks down rapidly, almost regardless of whether it started as white wheat or whole wheat. 2 slices of commercial whole wheat toast with breakfast raises blood sugar in an older adult with reduced insulin sensitivity to a level that is nearly indistinguishable from 2 slices of white toast. But it does not stop at blood sugar. Many commercial whole wheat and multigrain breads contain added sugars to improve flavor and texture. Some contain vegetable oils, specifically soybean or canola oil, that in oxidized form promote inflammation in the arterial walls. And nearly all of them contain sodium levels that, across a full day of eating, push seniors closer to their cardiovascular sodium threshold than they realize. The label says heart healthy. The label was designed by a marketing team. What to do instead? If you want bread at breakfast, look for bread made from genuinely intact sprouted whole grains. Ezekiel bread is the most widely available example. The grain in sprouted bread has not been milled into flour. The cellular structure remains largely intact. The blood sugar response is meaningfully different. Or replace the toast entirely with half an avocado on its own. Healthy fat, fiber, potassium, and 0 blood sugar spike. D. Number 4. Orange juice and all fruit juices. Food. Number 1. The heart-healthy granola bar or cereal. And here it is, the one I told you about at the beginning. The breakfast item almost no senior is questioning. The one sitting in your kitchen right now with a red heart on the box. Heart-healthy granola. Heart-healthy cereal. The American Heart Association certified checkmark on the front. Let me show you exactly why that certification should not give you the comfort it does. The AHA's Heart Check certification program requires that a product meet certain criteria for fat, saturated fat, sodium, and in some categories, fiber. What it does not restrict meaningfully is added sugar. A single 1-cup serving of one of America's most popular heart-certified granola cereals contains 28 grams of sugar. That is 7 teaspoons of sugar in one bowl. Before the milk, before the juice, before anything else touches your table. And granola compounds the problem in a way that plain sugar does not. Because granola comes with oats, nuts, and dried fruit, all of which are genuinely nutritious in other contexts, the brain categorizes the entire product as healthy. People eat larger portions of things they believe are healthy. They do not read the label as carefully. They have a second bowl. A senior who sits down to a bowl of heart-certified granola with low-fat milk and a glass of orange juice at breakfast is consuming somewhere between 50 and 65 grams of sugar before 7:30 in the morning. Here is what that does to the cardiovascular system in an adult over 65. That sugar load triggers a sharp insulin response in a body that is already insulin resistant. The excess glucose that cannot be efficiently absorbed gets converted in the liver to triglycerides. Those triglycerides circulate and begin the process of accumulating in arterial walls. Meanwhile, the sugar spike triggers an inflammatory cascade that affects the endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, in ways that, repeated daily across years, are structurally damaging. This is not a slow theoretical risk. This is a well-documented mechanism, and it is happening every morning in homes across America while the box on the counter says good for your heart. I want to tell you about Walter. Walter is 72 years old, a retired postal worker from Memphis, Tennessee. He came to me with an LDL cholesterol reading his doctor described as surprisingly high, given how carefully he ate. Walter pulled out a written food log. He kept one, and every morning for the past 3 years, he had started his day with 2 cups of a well-known, heart-certified granola, skim milk, and orange juice. He was doing everything he believed was right. His triglycerides were 310. His fasting blood sugar was in pre-diabetic range, and his cardiologist had him scheduled to discuss statin medication. We overhauled only breakfast: eggs, vegetables, half an avocado, water. 6 weeks later, Walter's triglycerides had dropped to 195. His fasting blood sugar had normalized. Walter's words to me at that follow-up visit: "The box told me it was heart healthy. I trusted the box." That trust is not foolishness. It is the entirely reasonable response of someone who was given the wrong information by the people and institutions they were supposed to be able to rely on. The problem was never Walter. Here is the breakfast I would build for any of my patients over 65. Not complicated, not expensive, not time-consuming. 2 eggs, any style. Eggs provide high-quality protein and healthy fat that stabilizes blood sugar for hours. The cholesterol in eggs has been largely exonerated by current research in the context of overall dietary pattern. They are one of the most cardiovascularly appropriate breakfast foods for older adults. Half an avocado. Potassium, monounsaturated fat, fiber. Directly supports blood vessel health and blunts blood sugar response. A small handful of walnuts or almonds. Anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids in walnuts specifically have more supporting cardiovascular research than almost any other single food. Half a cup of fresh or frozen berries. Blueberries, raspberries, or blackberries. Anthocyanins, the compounds that give them their color, have documented anti-inflammatory and arterial protective effects in older adults. Water or unsweetened black coffee or green tea. That breakfast contains almost zero added sugar, substantial protein and healthy fat, genuine fiber from intact food sources, and anti-inflammatory compounds your arterial walls will thank you for. And it takes 10 minutes to make. Now here are 3 questions I want you to bring to your next appointment or your next conversation with a nutritionist. Question 1. What is my current fasting triglyceride level, and has it been trending up or down over the past 3 years? Triglycerides are one of the most sensitive early markers of dietary sugar impact in older adults, and they are routinely underemphasized in standard lipid conversations. Question 2. Has my fasting blood sugar been tested in the past year? And if so, what is the trend? Not just whether it is inside the normal range today. Early trends matter far more than single snapshots. Question 3. Can we review my current diet, not in general terms, but specifically what I eat at breakfast? Because I have learned that several common breakfast foods affect blood sugar and cardiovascular inflammation differently after 65. Any physician genuinely focused on your long-term cardiovascular health will welcome that question. And if the response is dismissive, that is important information about whether the current clinical relationship is serving your health. Here is what I want you to do in the next hour. Not tomorrow, this hour. Go to your kitchen. Pick up whatever is on your breakfast shelf right now. The cereal box, the oatmeal packet, the yogurt container, and turn it around. Look at the sugar line on the nutrition label. Not the total carbohydrates, the added sugars specifically. Write that number down. That number, repeated every morning, multiplied across 365 mornings a year, is what your cardiovascular system has been managing quietly, without complaint, without a visible symptom, for however many years that food has been in your kitchen. That is not a reason for alarm. It is a reason for one decision, one substitution, one morning at a time. If you start this week, just the breakfast change, nothing else, here is what I have seen happen in patients just like you. By the end of 2 weeks, most people notice their morning energy is steadier. The drop that used to hit around 10 a.m., the one they called just getting older, becomes noticeably less sharp. By the end of 30 days, people who check their blood sugar at home consistently see their fasting number moving in a better direction. And by the end of 90 days, when the lab work comes back, the triglycerides tell a story that no pill was required to write. There is someone in your life right now, a spouse sitting at the same breakfast table, a sibling you talk to every Sunday, an adult child who just turned 65 and is starting to think about these things, who needs to hear what we talked about today before tomorrow morning. You do not have to explain all of it. You can simply send them this video. Leave a comment below right now. Tell me one thing. What does your current breakfast look like? Write it out. You might be surprised what comes up in the comments and what you notice when you see what others are eating every morning. I read every single comment on this channel, every one. If this video changed how you think about your morning meal, subscribe to this channel right now, because next week I am covering something that connects directly to everything we talked about today. There is a specific medication, one of the most commonly prescribed drugs in adults over 65, that silently depletes the one mineral your heart muscle requires to maintain its rhythm. Most people on this medication have never been told about this depletion. Most doctors do not check for it routinely. And the symptoms it causes, fatigue, irregular heartbeat, muscle weakness, are almost universally attributed to aging itself rather than to the medication sitting on the kitchen counter every morning right next to that breakfast. If you are on any daily medication, that video was made specifically for you, and you will want to have seen this one first before you watch it. I am Dr. Stephen Parker. Take care of yourselves. I will see you next video.